Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of my vlog, My Side B. Um, I'm gonna have another series of videos coming out because I have some super exciting news, and that is my wife is pregnant. Micah is pregnant, and that's just mind blowing. I'm very excited about it. I I don't even know what to talk about for this video, but I will. I'm going to touch on two things in this video. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit more lighthearted because my last one was very not lighthearted, and the first one was very not lighthearted. Um, I'm going to try to make some adjustments just to kind of keep them upbeat. I try to keep myself upbeat for the most part. For the most part. Um, so, first, uh, how my wife told me she was pregnant. Um, I had just gotten off work, literally walked in the door. For those of you who don't know, I have 4 dogs and 3 cats. It's a lot of animals. I realize, I know, but that's besides the point. I came in the house, I walked up the stairs, and only one of my dogs met me, and that was very odd. And I looked at it, and it had like a bandana on, but it was white. The dog's white, so it kind of blended in, so I wasn't really sure what was around his neck. As I got closer, I kind of pulled it down a little bit and looked at it, and it said "Big Brother in Training." And my first thought, and for any of you who know me and Micah, excuse me, my first thought was, "Fuck, she brought home another animal," um, and so I was ready to be like irritated about it. But I turned the corner, and she's standing at the top of the stairs, and she's just staring at me, and she's kind of smiling and smirking like she does whenever she knows something I don't know. Um, and I realized that it wasn't another animal. I mean, humans are mammals, whatever, whatever. It was a tiny human in my wife. She's making one. Um, and I was so excited for about 30 seconds. And then I was terrified for 5 days. Um, where I had several things cross my mind. Are we ready? Can you ever really be ready for a child? Um, do we make enough money? Maybe. Debatable. Can we make it work? Um, and then I started going off on things that are so far in the future as like, does it really even matter? I started thinking about what if kids are mean to him in school? What if he gets in fights? What if he's just like I was when I was a teenager and is a complete asshole? Um, what if his heart gets broken? Like there was all of these things, and I say he. I have no idea what it is. I'll be honest. I don't really care. A friend of mine asked me, do I have hopes for a boy or a girl? I don't really care. I have this sinking suspicion that if it's a girl, I'm gonna be the biggest pushover. Um, but I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. Um, I will be happy with whatever happens. And whoever they choose to be, I will be 100% happy with whoever they choose to be. My hope is that I can impart part of my love of humanity and my wife's love of animals, and we can create a human who loves and cares for all living things, human or animal, which, who knows? Um, if I had to pick something, I kind of hope that they're into video games and is a little bit nerdy. Both my wife and I are a little bit nerdy, and while I do play more video games than her, she has been known to play some Call of Duty in her day, and Plants vs Zombies, Garden Warfare. If you're into that, she likes that game, and she loves Pokemon. So my wife has a nerdy streak in her as well. But if my kid decides that they want to be a jock, if they decide that they don't want to be a nerd, then more power to them. I will put every effort to make sure that whatever they want comes true. One thing that I hope to impart on my child that I think will actually be really, really difficult for me to do is I want to teach them how to fail. And by that I mean I want them to realize that not everything that happens, not everything that you do, not everything that you attempt is going to be successful. In my last video, I talked a little bit about my father to kind of go back to that in a small piece. Growing up, he would always have me help him with things, but if I screwed it up once, that was it. Like, he would just take over and he'd finish it. To his credit, again, I feel like I should preface this with, like, I love my father. I love everything about him. For the most part, he's stubborn. I'm stubborn. You know, we do butt heads, but, you know, he never wanted me to fail at anything, so he would just take over and he would do it. I don't know if it wasn't that he didn't want me to fail, or if it was that he always wanted it done right the first time, or whatever, but it made me terrified, absolutely terrified to even attempt anything because I was afraid that I was going to fail at it. Which was, in my opinion, a big hindrance on me, but it's not something I hold against him. Like, he did the best he could with what he knew. And he did the best he could with who he was and how he thought, or what he thought being a father was. I just never had that opportunity to really learn that, you know, I failed, but I got to keep pushing through and keep trying it until I get it right. And so that is one of the bigger lessons I want to impart on my child. But I'm super, super excited. It literally fills my stomach with butterflies and makes me want to cry and makes me want to scream. And I want to tell everyone, which is hilarious because I always found the jokes of people who are like Jim Gaffigan or Mike Birbiglia, where they talk about, you know, like, people talking too much about their kids. But so I'm trying to, like, temper that. I'm trying to not be that parent who's just so excited and just has to tell everybody. I did post the reactions of my parents. I might try to put my parents' reaction on Reddit or Facebook. I put it on Facebook. I might try to put it on Reddit, just because I think it's hilarious. My mom just kept saying, "Shut up, don't joke with me," as if Mike and I would play that kind of practical joke on them. It's just very odd, but I loved it, and my dad was just so excited. And before we went over there, Mike and I kind of made a joke to Mike about, you know, we should make a bet about who cries first, and it's a very easy bet to win because my dad is very emotional, and as soon as he found out, he just burst into tears. I guess we could talk about how Mike and I told our parents. So the morning, the night before, Micah asked her parents, you know, do they want to do dinner or lunch? And then whatever her parents decided, my parents do opposite. Her mom decided to do dinner. So the morning of, we went to my parents' house, and on the way there, we stopped at the mall and went to Swarovski's and got these little, they're like little crystal baby strollers. So we got one for each of our parents, and we brought it over. And in the video, you can't really see the stroller. In the video, my parents can't really see the stroller because I was trying to nonchalantly film it, which I don't know how well I actually pulled that one off. But my dad pulled it out, And his immediate reaction, he figured it out a lot quicker than I thought he would. I thought he was going to look at it for a little while and before he figured it out, but he figured it out a lot quicker than he thought he would. And the shock of it at first, he just didn't know how to react. And then as soon as he set it down, he ran over and he gave Mike a huge hug and just burst into tears. And it was up to this point, my child's not born yet, that was one of the best things that I've ever been able to give my father. And I have nieces and nephews, so it's not like my child's the first one. And I distinctly remember when my nephew was born, because he was the first, he's the oldest. I distinctly remember my dad being very emotional at that time, as he is. He's just an emotional dude. He's kind of a gruff dude now in his old age, but he's still, when we entertain, the life of the party, and he's a big teddy bear to me. So I was really excited that he was still around to experience that. He needs to quit smoking, but that's a whole nother thing. And for those of you who know my parents, they're very outspoken. They're very, talkative and loud, and so their reactions were equal to their personality. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll be sure to put it somewhere. So yeah, there's a baby on the way. Part 2 of what I was going to talk about is, this is actually the second time I'm going to be talking about this. I the worst part about me finding out I was having a kid was not even the stress or the worry that I had. It was the fact that I wanted to tell my best friend, who used to be my best friend. And I talked about this in the first video. Him and I had a falling out. And I've had a lot of time to think about it, and him and I have had some interactions since then. But a lot of them have felt very hollow. And I realized how incredibly lonely I was. Like, I have friends around me, I have family around me, but it just never, it hasn't really felt the same without him. And that's a very lonely feeling for me, which is so strange. Not that it's a lonely feeling, but maybe I'm just being overly dramatic. I have been known to be overly dramatic. But I wanted to tell him so badly, but at the same time it was like, did it even matter that I told him? Is it something that it's not going to change where him and I are at? And that to me was the biggest shame and upset, because him and I have been friends for so long. I was the best man at his wedding. He was the best man at my wedding. And even before I knew I was going to propose to Micah, when Micah and I, we'd been dating for 10 years, so it was about time. Yeah. I know. But when Mike and I had first started talking about having kids, like, that was one of the first things that I told her, was that I really wanted Kevin to be the godfather. That was super important to me, because he was my best friend. He was the person who I always talked to whenever I was feeling down. Him and I started 2 separate YouTube channels together. I remember going to I remember when we first started talking about starting a YouTube channel because I was working for Micah's parents at their security company, and I was on site. I was working as a security guard, and I remember just kind of walking around the site and patrolling things and texting him, you know, trying to come up with a name that we liked, that also wasn't taken. This was kind of right at the advent of when Twitch was becoming a thing, um, and we settled on Up All Night Gamers, and we started doing that, and then we got a couple other people involved, um, and in the beginning, I felt like Kevin and I's vision for what Up All Night Gamers was going to be was in line, but the other people had a different vision, and so we ended up splitting. But Kevin and I always stayed together. Like, we did Up All Night Gamers, and then eventually we split and we started doing another channel called Just Friends Spooning. And I mean, we came up with a bunch of different segments. Like, we did one that was Duel of the Dorks, where we played against each other, which I thought was the Duel of the Dorks one was a really clever title, and it was definitely one of our better hits. Um, and now it feels like all that's gone, which is a very somber feeling. Like, if you've ever seen Scrubs, which is probably the closest that I would liken Kevin and I's relationship to anything, is JD and Turk's relationship. Like, even when Turk got married and JD ended up with Elliot, then wasn't with Elliot, and then had a kid, and so on and so forth. Like, there's a scene in the show um, where somebody talks to JD and Turk and says something about them being married, and then JD says we're not married, and then Turk says we're a little bit married. That was Kevin and I's relationship. Like, when we would go out with our wives, when we would go out with other people, like, we were joking, we were laughing. Him and I just, we lit it up. But I don't know. Maybe I will say this: the falling out was it was a mutual thing. It was both of our faults. It wasn't like I don't want to make him out to be the bad guy, because he's not. And he had some other stuff that he needed to deal with, and where he's at now is maybe where he needs to be. Um, and for the most part, I try to take solace in that. I try to take solace in the fact that uh, maybe where he is right now is where he needs to be mentally, where he needs to be socially, where he needs to be, however he needs to be, and that's fine. I mean, it's fine enough for what's happening. Um, it, it's not that it's fine. It's that part of me is very happy that he is where he wants to be or needs to be. Um, Part of me is still very alone, or still feels very alone, feels that loss. Again, we have had interactions since the falling out, and we're friendly enough. It's just we're not best friends anymore. Which, you know, maybe I'm 28. Maybe you don't have best friends as an adult. Um, that's something I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure that piece out. Um, but I never really envisioned us not being best friends. Like, even when we had kids, I kind of always envisioned us, like, our kids playing together. Um, so it's a very conflicted feeling for me. But again, maybe as an adult you don't have best friends, which, if that's the case, I feel like it's very lonely and unfortunate. I think everybody should have best friends. Um, and again, I have been able to distract myself because I have a lot of other friends um, who have been absolutely phenomenal. Uh, kind of my go to confidant through a lot of what's been going on in my life has been my friend William. He is one of the, well, I can't say one of the, he is literally the best baker that I know. Sorry, Micah. Um, and he's just been a real source of strength for me. So I want to give a shout out to him. He's an incredible person. My friend Christopher, he is one of the most talented digital artists I've ever seen, and um, for my YouTube channel right now, my gaming channel, he's coming up with a new logo for me. He helped me design my wife's Christmas present, which is just it ended up being so much cooler than what I had ever hoped for. Um, and my buddy Joe, who I definitely leaned on when I found out that my wife was pregnant, just because he is, of my circle of friends, the only one who has a kid. Um, but well, he's got three now. Joe has a son. Yeah, that's um, and I don't get to talk to Joe nearly as much as I would like to, just because he is super busy with his own life. But um, and then we do game night, and um, there's Christine and Jess, who are literally two of the most phenomenal teachers I've ever met. Um, the school that they are at is absolutely blessed to have them. And they come over on Friday nights for game night and unwind, and we play games and drink and eat, and that's definitely helped. But um, it's not the same. We don't have that history, and I would definitely say that Kevin and I had a unique chemistry when we were together, which makes it sound like we were dating, which we weren't, but yeah, we kind of were. Um, but yeah, uh, I think that, to put this full circle back into context, um, when I first started thinking about doing this video and what I wanted to talk about in the video, I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about, but now that I've kind of gotten it all out there, where I want to leave this video is a message for my unborn child. And that is, don't, if you, my unborn child, tiny panda, as we call it. Oh, that's another thing. Real quick, that's kind of a shorter story. After my wife told me, the next day I was at work and I got an email to my phone and it said Tiny Panda. And I thought, A, that's not my screen name because I go by Part Panda on most of my stuff. And B, I legitimately thought somebody was sending me like a racist email. And then it was like, Tiny Panda's heart has started beating today. And it started to click with me that it was an email that was connected to my wife's like baby tracking app. And so I was like, I was just really freaked out by that at first. But yeah, we've nicknamed our child Tiny Panda, just because we don't have a name yet, and B, like, even if we had a name, we wouldn't want to throw it out there just because that can ruin the name. But um, my message to Tiny Panda would be, if you are watching this, don't shy away from your best friends. Don't shy away from having best friends. Um, if you lose a best friend, it's going to leave a hole, but I promise you, it will. It'll be, the journey will make it worth it. The the good times you've had, the laughs, the jokes, the crazy, stupid antics. Like, we laid out the entirety of Up All Night Gamers at an IHOP at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and helped the waitress set up because she had a regional manager coming in later that morning at like 7. Um, so we helped stage the IHOP. It's very strange, but um, cherish those moments. Um, the fun, and live in those moments, which I think is one of the bigger things that, um, when Kevin and I would get together, it wasn't, there was nothing else. Like, we weren't looking forward to anything. It was, we were living in that moment. We were making jokes in that moment. It wasn't worrying about what was next, or the tests we had in high school, or the future we had to worry about, because it was live in those moments. And you can always look back on them. There's the thing about memories. Barring dementia or head injuries, um, you'll always be able to live in your memories. But don't get stuck there. You'll always be able to relive your memories or look back on your memories, but don't get stuck there. I am continuing my Up All Night Gamers channel. I am continuing to move forward. Cherish your memories, but don't get stuck there. So, cherish your friends, live in the moment. You can relive memories, but don't get stuck there, because getting stuck in the memory can drag out a bunch of bullshit, and it's not worth it. And for you, the viewer, that's my side B. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being here. If you want to be alerted and you don't check Facebook very often or what have you, you can like and subscribe. If you don't like and subscribe, I'm not going to be offended. I'm not here to necessarily get viewers. I'm here to showcase my side B. That's not the easy stuff you can put on Facebook to make your life look better. Not that I don't love my life. I do. I do enjoy my life. But this video is for me, and if you get something out of it, great. And if not, then you don't. But I appreciate you nonetheless watching. I appreciate you listening, and I sincerely hope you have a good rest of good rest of your day, evening, night, whatever. And again, the only thing I'll leave you with that is of real importance to me, that I sincerely hope that you would take to heart, is, rather than like and subscribe, if you don't want to do that, do one thing, and that's step outside your comfort zone. Do something you don't normally do. These videos, these are therapeutic for me, but I've always been very concerned about what other people think of me, and so this is me stepping outside my comfort zone, although this is now episode 3. So, yeah. I leave you with that. Do one thing that steps you outside your comfort zone. and have a great, great, beautiful day. I almost sounded like Tony the Tiger there, which, incidentally, my name's Anthony. So, I do have a cousin named Tony. He's in Vietnam right now, and I'm very jealous. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Good night. Goodbye.